Alright, this video is on day 4 for ellipses. The only new thing here is we're talking about the foci, and to find the foci we basically just find C, and we use our two bottom numbers in the equation to find C. Once you find C, the two foci are on the major axis, not the minor axis, so they're towards the vertices from the center, but they're C units away from the center. And I put absolute values here, so it just means that, you know, A or B, whichever one's bigger, it doesn't really matter, but when you subtract their squares, when you subtract them, make sure it's positive before you solve for C by square rooting. Alright, so we should be able to find out a lot of information from this ellipse. Remember, the vertices are the ones that are farthest away, the most stretch of, you know, what could have used to be a circle. So we're saying that this would be 7, 0, and -7, 0. They're the farthest ones from the center of the ellipse. The co-vertices are the ones that are the shorter radius. 0, 4, 0, -4. The center in this case is right at 0, 0. We could figure out the length of the major axis. It's from -7 all the way to 7, so that's 14. And the length of the minor is 4 to -4, so that's 8. Well, now we know the radii. If that's the center, then the y radius is 4 and the x radius is 7. So the equation is going to be x, and then there is no number with the x because the center is at the origin. We don't need to put a number in parentheses with the x. It's just 0. So the number x under x squared, the radius in the x direction is 7. So the number x under x squared is 49. Then y squared is the same. It doesn't have a number with it because it's just it's at the origin. The center didn't move from the origin. And then in the y direction, the radius is 4, so the number under y is 16, just 4 squared, and then equals 1. So that's the equation of this ellipse, but we need to find the foci. So we know the value of A, it's 49, the value of B, it's 16, and then C is going to be, through the formula, C squared equals A squared minus B squared. And then this one, we're not going to get a negative number, so we don't have to worry about the absolute value, but if we did get a negative number, we'd be thinking about that. And so C squared is going to be 33, and then we have to, that was a cat, we have to square root both sides to get C. So that is 5.7, and that's not the best number, but we can find our foci now. It's always in the largest, it's in the major axis direction. So if we know that it's 5.7 units away from the center, our center is at C here, so our foci have to be 5.7 units away. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.7 is about right there. Same thing this way, it's about right there. So the two foci are going to be 5.70, that coordinate, and -5.70. So at this point, really what we need is some example that's not at the center, just so we can kind of see how everything looks without that. So the vertices in this case are going to be 1, 8 and 1, -6 because they are the larger of the radii. So it's 1, 8 and 1, -6. Co-vertices are -2, 1, and 4, 1. The center, you just have to count it out. It's just you know, from the origin, it's right one, up one, so 1, 1. The length of the major axis, we should figure out how far this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if a radius is 7, like the long diameter is 14. The length of the minor axis looks like 6, because the radius is 3. So the whole way across is 6. We don't really care about that as much. We care about what the radius is, and so because that affects our equation. We do have a center now, so this equation is going to be x minus 1 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 1, and each of these expressions have a number underneath, and it's just the radius squared in which direction you're talking about. So in the x direction, the radius is 3. That means you have 9 underneath there. In the y direction, the radius is 7. So we have 49 there. Our value A is 9, value B is 49. Those are just, or those are A squareds and B squareds, and that's fine because that's what we're using. So to find the foci, we're saying C squared equals 9 minus 49, and in this case, we do need to have, we need to make sure this outcome is positive. So even though we'll get a negative 40, we're just going to turn it positive, because when we square it, we don't want negative numbers. What I get is 6.2 about. I'm just rounding it to the tenths. So we get our foci is going to be in the y direction. So we got 6.2. And then in the y direction, that's how many units we are from the center. So we got to go 6.2 units out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.2. And then we have to figure out what point that is. That's where the foci is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.2. So based on where the center is, it kind of changes things. To find that point, then we just have to figure out what it is. So we go right 1 to find the foci point, and then we had to go up actually 7.2. So 1 and use blue. 1 and 7.2 is a foci, and the other one is 1, and we had to go down. We only ended up at 5.2. And we would get that by counting. It's negative 5.2. We get that by counting, from the origin to find the ordered pair. All right, so we'll start with an equation and graph one this time. Center, we need to find that. It's 3, negative 2. Let's write 3 down 2. That's our center. Value of A, we know that A is underneath the x, so that's 5. And then the other one is 9, the square root of that is 3. So we know in the y direction we have a smaller radii, in the x direction we have a larger one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's one of the vertices. So I just went 5 away in the x direction, because 25 was under the x, and then 3 away in the y direction. And then we have the ellipse there. I had to zoom in to draw that. So the length of the major axis, we know it's just double the radius, the diameter basically. So the major axis in this case is 10. And the minor then is 6. Okay, so to find our foci, we're going to take c squared and then a squared minus b squared. 25 minus 9. That ends up being 16, finally a nicer number. So we'll go out from the center 4 units to find the foci. and we go in the direction of the major axis of the longer of the two radii. 1, 2, 3, 4 is right there, and 1, 2, 3, 4 is right there. So to find those points, just count them like regular. From the center, from the origin, you're going left 1 and down 2, so that's -1, -2, and then in the other direction we're going right, positive x, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then down 2 is -2. So those are your foci. So most of the assignment should be just about that, finding the foci now, but also being able to graph an ellipse. Oh, and one last thing. This was what I was talking about at the beginning of the unit. The foci really is important for reasons like this. So you can read this. Just pause the video. But I partially explained some of this on day 1.